everyone to another study session with KP. I'm KP, and today we'll be doing pseudocode to flowchart. We're converting pseudocode to flowchart. So we're doing some practice, right? So we know that there are two ways to represent an algorithm, and one is pseudocode, the other is flowchart. Flowchart include the symbols. So it is good for us to do some practice in this regard, because a lot of the questions that come on the past paper may involve flowchart, where you see a pseudocode and you need to write it as a flowchart, or the other way, where you get a flowchart and you need to write it as a pseudocode. So let us do some practicing. So this one is pseudocode with sequential statements, which simply means the instructions are there one after the other. There are no branching and there are no loops. So the first tip I would give you when going through this process, if you should get a pseudocode and instructions are to convert it to a flowchart, is to look at the pseudocode and try to devise or note beside each line what symbol it would represent in the flowchart. All right. So for this example, let us start. So start, we know, is let me get my marker here. So start, we know, is a terminator, right? We use a terminator here. Read is an input output, so I'll use I/O, which means input output. We see in our equal sign here, we're doing some calculation. So this is a process. Equal sign again, doing some calculation. So this is another process box, right? Again, equal, process. And this is write, which is another input output box. And this is a terminator. All right? So those are the symbols we're expecting to see in the flowchart, right? So let's start. So the beginning of the flowchart will have a oval, right? And inside that oval we have start. For flow lines, next line is an input output, which is a parallelogram, right? And that will have read X, Y, Z. Next line is a process. So what I'm going to do is put all of this process in one box, right? It's a process. So S equal X plus Y plus Z. A equal S divided by 3. P equal X times Y times Z, and all of that goes in a process box, which is a rectangle. Next line is an input output, which is a parallelogram or flow line showing a direction of flow. And that says write S A P. And the last one is terminator, where we stop. So here we've covered all the lines in the pseudocode and we represented them as a flowchart. So Let's try another one. So this one now is conditional branching. Now, why we say conditional branching? Because we have some condition happening. If, then else, right? So we're going to apply the same tip. We're going to go through each line of the pseudocode and try to determine what symbol of the flowchart it would represent. Start is a terminator. Input here, which means it's a input output. Grade equal, we're doing a calculation. So this is a process. Now, if grade is less than a 50, that's a decision. So we have a decision box here. Print, input, output. Print, so this is else would just show that, you know, yes or no. Print, input, output, and stop, which is another terminator. Right? So now let's try to draw the flow chart. All right, so we start with our oval, which represents a terminator. Next line is our input output. So we have our flow lines. So we're going to input M1. That should be a comma, should be there. A comma should be here. M1, M2, M3, M4. And that goes in a parallelogram. Next line is a decision, right? Decision is the diamond. So the decision is, we're checking if grade is less than 50. I will put a question sign so that we know it's a question, right? So let me draw my diamond. All right, hold on, let me fix this, right? Draw my diamond first. So I know where everything should go. So it is grade is grade. So we're asking, is grade less than 50? That's a question. So the answer is either going to be a yes or it's going to be a no. So if it's yes, what are we going to do? We have a input output box, which is a parallelogram. So we're going to print fail. And that's a parallelogram. If it is yes, or if it's no, we're going to print pass. And that is also a parallelogram. Input, output. What next? So both are going to meet because we're now going to end the algorithm. So they'll both meet and go to stop, which is a terminator, which is a oval. And so we've covered all our lines for this pseudocode where we're showing conditional branching. So just remember, once you get the pseudocode, first tip, try to go through each line and identify what the symbol would be represented as in the flowchart. So we've reached the end of this practice session. I hope you guys learned something and keep practicing. Our exams are right around the corner, right? It's next week, Friday. So see you guys in another study time with KP. Bye.